She was humiliated in 22C, until her call sign made Air Force One divert to Escort. The boarding gate at Dallas-Fort Worth buzzed with impatience. Travelers tugged at rolling suitcases, businesspeople tapped away at laptops, and children clutched stuffed animals as their parents tried to corral them. At the heart of the crowd, seat 22C had already become a quiet stage for whispered stares and pointed laughter. Captain Sarah Collins sat there, slouched, worn jeans and a faded hoodie covering a frame that once carried the weight of military medals. Her hair was tied back in a loose knot, her eyes tired but sharp, though no one seemed to notice. To most of the passengers, she was just another woman squeezed into economy class, someone too ordinary to warrant a second look. Except that she wasn't. The man in the aisle seat made sure everyone noticed her. "Can you believe this?" he muttered to his companion. "Middle seat, 22C, thinks she can just shove her bag in before mine. Some people have no respect." His voice wasn't quiet. A few others chuckled. Sarah didn't answer. Years in uniform had taught her how to stay still in storms, how silence often spoke louder than retorts. She kept her gaze fixed on the clouds outside the terminal glass, letting the words bounce off her. But humiliation doesn't bounce. It sticks. When the flight attendants came through with drinks, he made another comment. "Better not spill that, 22C. Something tells me you'd file a complaint if you did." More laughter. A teenage boy across the aisle whispered, "She looks broke. Probably flying for the first time." His mother hushed him, but the damage was done. The circle of judgment had formed, and Sarah sat in the middle of it. No one knew. No one knew that she had flown combat missions across 2 oceans, that she had spent nights in the cockpit while tracer fire streaked past like fireworks of death. No one knew that her call sign, Falcon, had been spoken with respect across the Air Force, that she had led an escort wing for rescue helicopters under fire, that her courage had once saved 36 soldiers trapped in an ambush. To them, she was just seat 22C. The humiliation festered until the plane lifted, engines roaring as they climbed into the blue Texas sky. Sarah leaned back, closing her eyes, trying to disappear into the hum of the aircraft. Halfway through the flight, turbulence jolted the cabin. Gasps rippled through the rows, and the captain's voice crackled overhead. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've received word that restricted airspace will be temporarily active ahead of schedule. We're adjusting course." The man beside Sarah groaned. "Unbelievable. Delays again. Why can't this country get anything right?" Sarah's jaw clenched. Old instincts prickled. She knew restricted airspace wasn't activated without reason. She opened her eyes and glanced at the window. Out there, in the endless canvas of sky, she spotted something most passengers would never recognize. A silhouette. Fast, sleek, deliberate. Military grade. Her heart skipped. F-22 Raptors. The murmurs began when 2 fighter jets glided into view beside the commercial airliner, close enough for passengers to press their faces to the windows in awe. Someone exclaimed, "Are we in danger?" The pilot's voice returned, nervous now. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm. We have an unscheduled military escort. We are complying fully." Fear buzzed like static in the cabin. Parents pulled children closer. The man next to Sarah paled. What the hell is going on? Sarah knew. And though she hadn't heard it in years, the call sign rose from deep inside her like a whisper from another life. Falcon. Suddenly, the radio near the cockpit cracked loudly, spilling static into the cabin speakers by accident. A clipped, confident voice cut through. "Commercial Flight 481, this is Falcon -1. You are entering protected airspace. Air Force One is diverting through this corridor. Maintain present course. We've got you covered." Passengers froze. The words replayed in their minds. Falcon -1. The name burned through Sarah's chest. She wasn't Falcon -1 anymore. She was Falcon, the original. The call sign had been hers. Years ago, she had flown with the very same squadron now escorting this aircraft. The man in the aisle seat blinked. "Wait, Falcon, isn't that?" His voice faltered as he turned to her. Recognition flickered across his face, piecing together the patches on her worn duffel bag, the posture too disciplined for a civilian, the silence too practiced. You're Falcon." His voice cracked with disbelief. Sarah didn't answer, but her eyes did. The whispers spread like wildfire. "She's Falcon. I read about her. Didn't she fly cover during Operation Iron Shield?" "No way, she's sitting right here." Passengers leaned in, their expressions shifting from ridicule to awe, from judgment to gratitude. Humiliation melted into something else. Respect. The teenage boy who had mocked her earlier tugged his mother's sleeve. "Mom, she's a hero." Tears stung Sarah's eyes, but she blinked them away. Heroes didn't cry, at least not in public. As the F-22s roared alongside, Sarah pressed her hand against the window, a silent salute. For a brief moment, the lead fighter dipped its wing, the smallest of acknowledgments, but one that carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken words. The cabin erupted into applause. Not for the fighters. For her. Sarah Collins, C-22C, forgotten veteran, had just been remembered. The man beside her swallowed hard. His arrogance crumbled. I'm sorry. I didn't know." Sarah's voice was steady, though soft. "That's the thing about respect. You shouldn't need to know someone's story to give it." The plane continued its course, steady now under the guardianship of the Escort. Passengers no longer avoided her. They leaned closer, asking questions, offering thanks. The boy handed her his drawing tablet and said, "Can you sign it?" "For me." For the first time in years, Sarah smiled. Not because she craved recognition, but because she saw something change in their eyes. A shift. A realization. When the flight finally landed, passengers allowed her to leave first. One by one, they shook her hand. Some hugged her. The man who had mocked her carried her duffel bag down the aisle without being asked. At the terminal, Sarah paused. Above the runways, the F-22s banked away, disappearing into the horizon. Air Force One passed distantly, its glint unmistakable in the afternoon sun. She stood straighter, shoulders squared, the way she had on countless missions. She wasn't just C-22C. She was Falcon. And for the first time in a long time, she believed again that the sky still belonged to her. Closing message. Heroes don't always sit in first class. Sometimes they're squeezed between strangers in 22C, carrying stories heavy enough to fill the skies. Respect costs nothing, but it can mean everything, because behind every tired face, every worn jacket, every quiet passenger, there might be someone who once carried the weight of the world, and would do it again if asked.